talking about today is basically how to mindfully practice to prevent injuries. So there are some risks that you always kind of take when you're practicing. Stress, new techniques, posture, and increased practice time. I got these from Dr. Sarah Upjohn. She's a physiotherapist at the Personal School for Young Musicians, and she's also registered with the British Association of Performing Arts Medicine. Essentially, those kind of factors cause injuries, usually. So it's really helpful if you can kind of reduce those as much as possible while you're practicing and the environments that you're in. Mindfulness is something that you can definitely use to help combat that. Basically focusing on one thing at a time to help you achieve more and then also to reduce those injury risks. So if you just Google mindfulness, you can see on Google that it just says it's the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. Also a mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thought, and bodily sensations used as a therapeutic technique. So I'm going to be talking about it here, mainly about focusing on one thing at a time and just simplifying your practice. Play through your piece if you just don't know where to start. From there, go and find 3 things that went well. And sometimes that might seem harder than it actually is. I definitely find it hard. Now, after you found those 3 things, go and find just 3 things to improve on. This could be something your teacher already mentioned in your lesson, or it could be new things that you notice, like a rhythm, intonation, bowing, From those 3 things that you just identified to improve on, just choose one thing to focus on. And I recommend setting a timer to just focus on that one thing. So maybe it's your intonation for measure 30 to 32. Just focus on that one thing for 20 minutes. Then after those 20 minutes, give yourself a break because you just worked really hard. From there, write down whatever the solution was. This kind of one thing at a time really helps you just focus and then get something done. Instead of dwelling on all the 50,000 things to get done and then just sitting there and being like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do. Then the next day is to just check on that one thing that you improved on and what you wrote notes about, and then rinse and repeat. Maybe run it again, see if you identify new things that need improvement on, maybe there's better things that happened, and then just do it again. So how does this exercise kind of prevent those risks that I talked about earlier? Well, it definitely reduces stress because you're only thinking about one thing at a time instead of thinking about all the things at once. Another thing is if you have a new technique or new repertoire you're attacking, you don't have to think about learning that whole piece yet. You can just think about being in the moment and being on like, I'm gonna learn this part today and that's it. And then you accomplish something and you haven't overwhelmed yourself, which also reduces stress. Now, another thing is posture. Because you're only thinking about one thing at a time, you actually have time to focus on your posture, which is super important. Because of that, you can really focus in and think about how well you're playing and how to address that posture issue as well as addressing whatever you're focusing on at the same time. You can actually usually handle those 2 things instead of just all the things and then completely forget about your posture. The last thing, increasing your practice time. Because you're working on one thing at a time at a short increment, you actually are then going to be able to give yourself breaks. And then if you have to increase your practice time, you can work up this incrementally instead of being like, I have to practice everything today, and then having a risk there. So overall, I really hope this helps. I definitely need a reminder of this all the time to keep it simple and to just focus on one thing. Hopefully this is helpful. Hey.